Hello, I know this is not your normal hosted video, but my name's Glue Boy. I've been invited on this channel to— Now hold up just a second there. You might be wondering why I'm introducing myself in this way. In reality, this video was originally going to be posted on the channel What Are You Painting Now in a collaboration, which it still is. This is still a collaboration video. However, plans change, so it's actually being hosted on my channel instead. Any verbiage that implies it's on a different channel, just ignore that. As well, if you want to go watch the video I made with Cal and Sunny, please go to their channel after watching this one. We covered Lancer, and I introduced the lore and some mechs from Lancer. It was a great time. I had a fantastic experience recording all of it, so please go give it a watch. I think it's a really fun video. It's well worth your time. So yeah, back to my video. And I've been graciously invited onto this channel to teach you all the tactics, to invite your friends to jump over to a different style of game with you. If you have a bunch of friends that are all war gamers, you'll play Warhammer 40k together, but man, oh man, you really want to try out these tabletop role-playing games, like you're a big fan and friends aren't interested, or vice versa, like you just switch those names around really. I understand, it's really tough. But also, I'm a person who's never really had a major issue convincing people to play the things I want them to play. I've always just been a good person at pitching things. It's a bit of my educational background in film. I've had to pitch a lot of projects. I've always just been kind of good with words and describing my ideas. And today I have 5 easy steps to hopefully simplify this process and help you convince your friends to join these games with you. And at the end of all of this, I'm going to make the world a worse place because I'm going to use these steps to pitch a game I adore, but is not good. I'm going to pitch a game to Cal and Sunny at the end of this video, so stay tuned. Step number 1 is to do some research and find a way to describe your game. Now, this isn't like actual formulated research. All of this is very loosey-goosey. You're not actually doing a full pitch. Like, this isn't a business meeting. You should at least be able to describe the game you're trying to pitch. Like, let's take, for example, Warhammer 40k, a system we all understand. We all know this. I feel like everyone will have at least a general understanding, or their own way of at least describing this in a short blurb. Would you describe 40k as just a large, constant struggle of warfare between many different factions, all vying for control and power in a galaxy that is ever churning to the eventual death as all of them slowly toil towards the inevitable death? Or is this a goofy clown show that's inspired by 70s and 80s like gothic rock and roll metal and also inspired by every single sci-fi universe you've ever heard of? It's up to you, and probably longer and more descriptive than these basically just taglines. The second idea you need to figure out, your friend, and this should be a little more instinctive, you shouldn't have to go fishing for this really, this is your friend we're talking about. Is your friend more of a lore or a mechanics person? If you're getting into a game, I feel like everyone has a first thing they immediately look at. Myself, personally, the first thing I look at is the lore. I run a lore channel. I want to read about that good old setting. I want to see what's the whole vibe about. I got my tastes. I like my big goofy sci-fis. And then I need to make sure the mechanics can actually back up what the lore is packing. But another reason you should be really looking into this is the key idea of taste, something I will be getting into later on in these steps. You really also should focus on this because it's going to dictate your tactics. Because, let's put it this way. Let's say, for example, you're trying to pitch a tabletop role-playing game to your friend. Turns out they're a big lore head. They really love settings, and they just really want to get into a cool new world. So what do? Well, you show them all the build potentials in a game like Pathfinder 2nd Edition. It's not gonna help. Or let's say they're trying to get into a new cool war game. Same deal, they love settings. They love just getting immersed. They love the fluff of the game. They love telling a story with the match. Well, yeah, just drop bolt action in their lap. I don't know how many of you have played bolt action. It's a crunchy time. Oh my gosh. Instead of, like, you know, the crusade rules of Warhammer 40k, which is a fantastic time. I love the crusade rules of 40k because taste is going to dictate everything really at the end of the day. can't account for taste. Everyone's got different things. It's something I'm actually very fascinated by. There's something very interesting to me about the idea that to one person, the reason why somebody adores a thing is to another person the reason they absolutely despise it. I find that personally fascinating. So, I don't know, just keep that in mind. Then we got step 3. Step 3 is something I do every time I make one of my big overview videos of a game, which is where I honestly am getting a lot of the advice for this video. Over on my channel, I make every once in a while a big overview video of a tabletop game I personally really adore. I have some videos on games like Lancer, Pathfinder 2nd Edition, Vampire the Masquerade, videos I really like. Another video that I'll mention later. It's a little pertinent. Main thing, you bring the good fun bits, because I understand a key want when it comes to us nerds is to gush about literally everything. You want to bring the things that are going to interest people. Not every single piece of context matters. We're all 40k fans here. Trust me, if you're trying to relay somebody the entire timeline of Warhammer 40k, something at this point in my life I could regale somebody with, I think with pretty good accuracy. If someone gun to my head told me to relay from the beginning of the creation of the universe to current 42nd millennium, I think I could do it pretty well. However, if you wanted me to do it succinctly and interestingly, there's some parts I'm gonna skim over, like the Men of Iron, War of the Beast, the Baghdad War, many of the Black Crusades, because I'll be honest, they're kind of interesting. Are they pertinent? Not really, because the main idea here is you need to give enough information that somebody knows the words that you're saying and has enough information that if they want to know more, they have their foot in the door. You're giving them enough information that their interest is piqued. But if they want that information that you are easily able to give, they can take that step and get it themselves. That's not your problem. At least that is my philosophy. Step 4 is the actual pitch. This one isn't even that crazy. My only real advice is to keep it succinct. Don't go too crazy long, because just don't go way too in depth. Don't go way too detailed. There's a reason why shorter pitches work. Short, to the point. They keep in your mind. It's advice I got constantly when I was in film school. Just, keep it light, conversational. This is for fun. Don't talk somebody to the point where their eyes glaze over and they stop contributing. I don't know. I'm not gonna regale you on how to talk to another human being. That's not what this is. Step 5 is the most important step. Probably the most pivotal step. If they say no, the answer's no. There's not much you can do there, You press that point, it's just gonna be annoying. You try to get somebody into a thing that they don't really care about, you're gonna convert apathy into a dislike. A lot of times people just aren't into the same things as you. It's taste, it's all of those things. Just take no for an answer if it comes up. All right, those are the 5 steps. So, using all 5 of these steps, I am going to pitch a personal favorite game of mine. A game that I actually have a video on my channel about. A game by the name of Anima Beyond Fantasy. A beautiful tabletop game. And a game I have a video on my channel about, which the pitch I'll be delivering is basically a very condensed version of. So, at the end of this video, you should go over to my channel and watch the video, Anima Beyond Fantasy is the best tabletop game you should never play. Which I think sums up the pitch you're about to see. And so, stay tuned and watch as I inflict a net negative on the world and I tell Cal and Sunny all about this beautiful game. Hello. All right, it's the people you're normally used to. I'm going to now pitch Anima Beyond Fantasy.
Okay. Who are you?
Don't worry about it.
Good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know how he got here.
I found my way.
Welcome once again to Waypan. Well, welcome, Glue Boy, to the Waypan channel. What are we doing today?
Well, you might regret that question. Or be happy about this. This is a game that I adore. And using all of the skills I've laid out before to everyone else, I am going to pitch a beautiful tabletop game that I adore and have played a lot of. a game known as Anima Beyond Fantasy. Now, I have a question before I fully get into this. Are either of you aware of this game's existence?
Nope.
No, I have a feeling though.
Oh, do you?
Well, let's see. So it's a sprite game from
It looks like advanced
the 2000s.
Maple Story.
Maple Story.
Advanced Maple Story.
No, it looks like Adventure Quest. Does anybody
Oh.
even remember Adventure Quest?
I don't. I've never heard of Adventure Quest.
I do know Adventure Quest. I know exactly what you're talking about. It is not Adventure Quest, though.
Okay.
It does look quite interesting based on this image, though.
It looks like play Final Fantasy.
Oh yeah, Final Fantasy.
But as an RPG? Question mark.
It's very similar to Final Fantasy. You did hit that. This is a game that dropped in the early 2000s in Spain and has some of the most unique lore and character options I have ever seen, but it is also a game that I would call non-standard in every sense of the word, but is also a beautiful, beautiful product that I would at least recommend everybody read through if you have a chance. The books are really fun. Like, there's something about these games in particular, there's just something captivating about them. If you meet anybody who has experience with Anima, the first thing they'll do is talk about, like, the game has a lot of problems and then proceed to gush about how beautiful it is. There's just, there's something about it. I've talked to a lot of people, including pretty high up designers even from Paizo, who like work on Pathfinder 2nd Edition, an actual good game, by the way, who talk the exact same way about this game. So it's not just me.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's heavily inspired by anime based off the name.
It is very anime inspired, as the best way I can personally describe Anima Beyond Fantasy is that it is a high fantasy, Final Fantasy style world and game with the insane power scaling that all describes, but also weirdly secret world, as it is held together by even more powerful entities and lore events that make magic and magical entities a complete secret. So it is up to you as adventurers to become part of that secret and experience the horrors that exist inside of this world. I'll go into both for the sake of the video. It'd be normally targeted if I'm talking to someone else, not for the sake of a recording, but for both of you. When you're looking at a new game, which is something you focus on first and what attracts you first? Is it lore, mechanics, or is it a mix of both?
Well, for me, it would be lore, because you've got to have that intrinsic pull towards the game. Like, we've talked about this with Frostgrave. So the reason why Frostgrave is easy to pitch is it's magical gold rush at Frozen Graveyard.
Frozen City.
Yeah, Frozen City.
So it's something that can hook you in to get you excited about the setting of the game, and also sets a premise on what you'll be doing in this world. So I would say the lore is kind of the meat of a pitch.
Well, I'd say the lore.
way.
I'd say the lore is not the meat. I'd say the lore is the smell. It's what gets you coming to the thing. But the mechanics, I would actually say, are the meat. Like, because I recently got the Heroes of Might and Magic board game, and I loved Heroes of Might and Magic. I absolutely adored it. And then I picked up the rule book for the game, and I just put it back down, and I said, okay, another time.
I see.
Yeah.
So I would say, for me, as a person who has never really played any of these sort of advanced board games for adults, like RPGs and all that, I really focus on how easy it is to understand the mechanics, because I always tell Cal, if it has more than 5 rules, I'm out of here. That's why I play Scrabble and Monopoly and Game of Life, okay? And that's all I play. And you know, if you've got more board games like that, I'll be interested.
She is a dirty liar. She plays Frostgrave, and she
I like
plays Stargrave, and she plays, you know, our own RPG.
But this, I have you to constantly check in on, to tell me if I'm doing it correctly.
Ah, yes, I am math slave.
Yes, my math slave.
So I have some slight bad news about that rule part. There are more than 5 rules for this game, but
Okay, let's...
Is it 6?
maybe just a little more. I can't say there are 7 because they forgot to write and include the 7th piece of rule into the game. It references there's a 7th rule, but the table isn't included. But
7th rule not included as part of the box, sold separately.
It's a feature.
It's not made by... Is it made by EA or is it just ignored?
It's just ignored.
Oh, okay.
I'll hit the lore description real quick, just give a little teaser. But one thing that's really fun about Anima's lore is, one, it's super detailed and really passionate is the best way I can describe it. As one thing I love about it, and I love about a lot of games that gets me, is I like things that feel human. I want to feel the touch of the author in anything I enjoy, because I want to feel like the person writing it had a good time, which is something you feel in Anima the entire time. Some better, some worse, where it's somebody who wrote down whatever they were thinking of. They came up with a goofy power. On the other hand, somebody who came up with something where they're like, oh my god, this is the greatest because I just watched One Piece recently. And that wouldn't it be so cool if we put in this power? They're decided, man, it's so cool that Luffy and all these characters have hockey and they can make people pass out with their combat aura. I'ma write that. Man, I wish I could earth bend. I'ma write that. And then they did. Where it really feels like they watched an anime and then did it. And on the other hand, there's other elements that are so unique and interesting where it's just a group of friends got together and wrote genuinely interesting lore, which is a part I enjoy, because if you're a person who likes fantasy but gets just a little tired of like Tolkien style fantasy, this is a really interesting thing to delve into, because you're not gonna see Tolkien stylings at all, even in just the fantasy races. While granted, you're not really going to be seeing a lot of them since it's kind of on the down low, being a little secret world. You're not going to be seeing your elves, your dwarves, your orcs. That's not really here. The only one is really elves being Sylvan. That's kind of it.
I knew it because all weebs love elves.
Yes.
Elves.
That's kind of it. But essentially, it's more like these are known as Nephilim, which aren't even fully like
half angel.
Oh,
not even that actually. It's more. It's more like these are supernatural beings who are reincarnated, since there's a well of souls that all souls are put into, and then these supernatural creatures were then reincarnated into a human's body, but they have a different soul. And there's a lot of genuinely interesting ones. Like, one I personally enjoy is a race called the Giant, which are giants. They have, like, the skin tone of stone and clay and, like, dirt and earth. They have horns and, like, a deep tattoo culture and are very physically imposing. And they have a third eye that can, like, see the supernatural. They're
very interesting.
They're very fun. If you've ever played Dragon Age, they're very similar to the Quinari from Dragon Age.
So they have like a very rigid culture. Is that what you're saying? Like a caste system almost?
Not fully a caste system. They're just very insular when they were a thing back in the day.
Okay.
I'll get into why. I will get into why. It's a funny story.
Okay, yeah, because when you said like they're not like Nephilim and here's some giants, and I'm just like, so exactly like the Nephilim.
Oh, there's another group that you'll also be saying the same thing about. Speaking of the celestial Ebudan, people from the heavens, the children of destiny.
Oh,
so more angels.
Yeah,
they aren't all angels though. Trust me.
Definitely not the half angels that were talked about with the Nephilim. Definitely not them.
Definitely not, but kinda, but not. Just trust me.
No, okay.
So these are beings that are literally born with a specific purpose. They don't know what that purpose is, and they're destined to discover what it is. They're created with a calling, and they must work their entire life to do that calling. And part of the journey is to discover what it is in the first place. The last one I'll mention, there are a good few more. This one is a fun one, and the name is long. The Diagiani. This is a group of people that are born from the shadows. And I don't mean physical shadows of like the dark. I mean shadows of your attention.
Boy.
Okay, yeah, so they're literal Jungian shadows. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, this truly is Anime the game.
Yes.
It's an emo boy.
Yes.
Essentially, it is the emo boy who can put in his headphones and on his own command can actually wipe his existence from your mind upon their own choice. Just walking past you, you will not remember seeing them. They can have a full conversation with you, and unless you can pass a magic resistance check or they tell you their true name, you will not remember any of their features or the conversation you just had.
What is this, Light Yagami?
Yeah, no, this is somebody who shops at Hot Topic.
Ah!
Oh no, Light Yagami comes later.
Oh no.
There's a lot of little lore tidbits that can be told. This is one of my favorites to just explain how goofy this lore can go if you dig a little deep. So I think it's a good story to delve into. There are two reasons why the supernatural is a little on the down low. So the first immediate reason is the Catholic Church, also known as the Church of Able Christ. As in, yeah, that Christ.
As opposed to disabled Christ?
He isn't there.
He isn't there.
No.
Are you saying as opposed to Cain Christ, or as...
No, just Abel.
Like...
His name is just Abel.
Oh, okay.
There's no Cain, to my knowledge, at least.
Oh, I see. All right.
All right, I'm just going to nod my head and just...
We shall do that.
They personally think that all the supernatural is heresy and they want it dead. Mages and the Nephilim are cold, which is a main reason why the supernatural races, when they do pop up, are usually killed off, and a reason why they are reincarnated in the first place, which is why there are no real true forms of these races left. If they are still around, they're in deep hiding or in a deep sleep.
No, so it like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like somebody skim read the Bible via an anime, and that's what we're playing.
That's a pretty good description.
Okay.
Wait, that's the whole game description?
Well, there's a lot more in all around, but that's just basically you are playing a supernatural being. The Inquisition, if they catch a sniff of your existence, yeah, you're on their list. Though they use supernatural stuff. That's an example of the Inquisition, by the way. That's their vibe. There's a lot of elements of it, but in a meta reason, the Inquisition is there because of the power scaling of Anima is so stupidly high. There are 3 separate factions, almost, that exist to, are the players getting a little murder hobo-y? Here's the faction to stop that.
I see. And what are those 3 factions?
There's the Empire, in case they're doing it in a smaller scale. There's the Inquisition, if they're doing it, supernaturally on a little bit of a bigger scale. And then there's the Powers of the Shadows, or the Illuminati, if they're doing it on a metaphysical or a temporal level, and they're doing something a little too bad, where they drop down from space stations in power suits and kill you.
Oh my god.
Wow, they just really just threw everything at the wall here, didn't they? They're
Yes.
like the space station Illuminati in the medieval setting where the Nephilims...
It's like they went full chaos and was like, what would happen if we decided to merge both Warhammer 40k and the old world? Kablam!
No, I don't even think it's like that. I think somebody just watched every single isekai ever and said, that's a good idea.
Let's do all of it.
Yeah, let's do all of it.
One go.
Yeah, and like, It,
I'm so
yes.
confused.
Okay. I'm just gonna nod my head,
Thoroughly confused.
go limp again, and just wait for the rest of it to wash over me like a wave.
So the second reason of why they're all kind of locked down is a historical reason. So a long ass time ago, in the beautiful golden age of this world, magic was pretty active. Humanity, though, was on the down low. It was hanging out. It just wasn't as strong because, like, elves and, you know, all the other races I mentioned, they sound pretty tough. You know, there's the race of people that can just run around and not be perceived. That's a little overpowered. Like, not gonna lie. There's the heavenly charged people that just are like, we're perfectly suited to one task. The godly. That's a little overpowered. One guy thought as much as well. A dude known as Raw Sith. He really was not a fan of this.
Raw Sith.
Oh, raw Sith. I thought it was like a sieve, but it was raw, and I'm like, what?
No,
what kind of
instead of Raw Sith, Raw Sith, you know, like Star Wars.
Oh.
It is spelled that way, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So, Raw Sith is a descendant of a man named Judas Sith, and I do mean that Judas.
Sorry.
You made him laugh so hard, I can feel his abs.
That's the proper
no,
response.
Honey, don't die. Don't die, honey. Don't die.
Okay, please continue.
Yeah. So, Raw Sith thought this whole magic thing was a little cringe, and so he decided, you know what? What if magic was dead? So, he built a big machine. This is known as Ra's machine. That's just the name of it. He built this thing. It was doing pretty well. He had it all completed, and a lot of people got involved. Like, a lot of things, including, like, the 7 sins, the 4 horsemen, some gods. It was a whole thing. He turned it on. He turned the machine on. It mostly worked. Like, it kind of worked. It's a good thing it didn't completely work, because if it worked exactly to specifications, literally every single living thing on the planet would have died immediately, because everything is a little magic. But, like, he succeeded and killed off most of the magic, and anything significantly magical instead was so weakened it had to escape into, like, a separate supernatural realm of the realm of souls and just supernatural domain, or went into a deep torpor and disappeared, which is now the state that we're in currently, where everything is just kind of tucked away neatly. It's now I'm going to get into the mechanics. When you guys are playing RPGs or tabletop games, what kind of classes or characters do you usually get grabbed towards?
I generally like a magic style character or a rogue.
No, you generally play either the beat 'em up or the stealth person.
Well, that's what I play in our game.
Yes, those are the ones that you have played. So for me, I always like to have somebody who's high intelligence regardless of the class, because I want my character to be able to come up with solutions and it not be, you know, deus ex machina, you know, like I actually think about it and I can project it into the game. But, like, doesn't matter if it's a thief, a fighter, you know, mage, whatever, just somebody who can think about things.
All right, makes sense. An important thing to note about Anima, something I've kind of been hinting at, this game does get absolutely stupid wild. It gets really dumb really fast in how powerful it gets, and there's a point I need to make sure I hammer home. There's one specific way I know that I use to hammer this in. So I'm putting this in here. This is Goku's stat block.
What?
This is Goku. I had a friend make Goku from the end of the Frieza saga. Accurate to him in the show. He can do all the stuff like go Super Saiyan and all that. This is level 5, by the way. I think it's important to note.
Is that high?
No.
Is it very low then?
Yes. It's level 5 character. It's like, you know, about equivalently the same amount of time, maybe as like getting to level 5 in a D&D game. Maybe like a couple months to get there. You did a good few adventures. Right. You're getting set up as like characters, you got your like your adventuring party started, you're getting strong. In Anima, no, you're Goku and you can go Super Saiyan and all that. But there's one part of the character creation that I mentioned when it comes to the kind of characters you guys play. There are two specific methods of categorization when it comes to characters. There are the actual classes that the game gives you, which basically I personally would categorize as traps for people. They are not actually classes, they are ways to make stat purchasing cheaper, because the better way of categorizing everything is actually which power system you decide to play. Because in reality, there are 5 categories of what style of play you are going with, what power system you go with. The 5 power systems is martial fighting, psychic, ki, summoning, and magic. So I will give you some brief descriptions on what power systems are in the game. So the first one that I'll tell you about is martial fighting. Now this sounds really boring, like, you know, just playing a fighter. Oh, you have a sword and shield? No. So
Okay.
this is a system where you can either have like, oh man, I have some fun extra upgrades that I can do. Alternatively, there are elements for impossible weapons, where you can have some really cool weapons like a whip sword, like a Castlevania whip sword, and you have an entire skill tree just for that. You can be absolutely goated at throwing weapons. Maybe you want to use a puppet or a yo-yo as a weapon. That's possible. Or you can go
Can
in...
I use a frisbee?
That would classify as a
And a
thrown
dog?
weapon.
I see.
So you would be using the Sagittarius weapons.
Oh, okay.
You could-
I clearly went a bit too far. I'll come back. I'll come back to Earth, teacher.
That's in the bounds of, I'll say that's very grounded in Anima. Psychic. Psychic is what I'd describe as baby's first wizard, as it's a little less complicated than wizard to play, but is instead, if you want to play around the idea of supercharging an ability so hard that like you get a super cool effect, but also you run the risk of exploding your brain, it is quite a time. But there's also, you know, psychic abilities to do things like teleport around, or you can psychically affect causality and completely alter somebody's fate. And yeah, if you mess up your psychic check, don't mess up your psychic check.
Okay, so they turn into scanners.
Basically. Summoning. So, unlike some other games that I've played that has summoning, I've played a good amount of tabletop games that have summoners in them. Anima is the rawest form of this I've experienced, because in this game, you decide, you know what, I want to go to summoning, and your GM slaps a 250-page monster manual in front of you and says, this is your character sheet.
What?
You play Pokemon now.
Okay.
And in playing a summoner, you summon creatures from the other world I mentioned. You bind them to your control and you puppet them, literally like a Pokemon trainer, and you fight other people using monsters. And if you ever have a situation in this game where you're fighting another summoner, it's a Pokemon battle. It's
Okay.
So on that, are they unwillingly summoned, or
depends
are
on the
they
creature, but yes.
Okay, so for example, let's say I'm summoning a Charizard. He's less likely to obey me because he's higher level.
Yeah. You will have to make a control check, and based on its level. And if you make the control check, it'll do whatever you say. If you fail the control check, it will do what it normally does as a creature. And you have to try again next turn.
So
Right.
if I wanted to summon, say, Arceus, which is Pokemon God, and like its standard MO or whatever Pokemon Devil is, I could summon that in a situation which I couldn't possibly win, and then win by losing because I can't control it and it just destroys everything.
Possibly. And then if you were for some reason able to make that ridiculously high check in the first place, because like there is a specific skill level that you'll have to like get to that point to even make that check, and then do not have the stat able to bind it to your will. The alternative is once you're done, there is a skill for banishing it, because otherwise it's just here now.
Oh, I know what this is. This is Fate Stay Nights, isn't it?
I've never heard of that. But
Fate Stay Nights, they bring people back from history and they have to bind them to their will. Otherwise, they do what they want. And yeah,
sounds like a very familiar premise.
It's an anime.
If it's around in the early 2000s or 90s, then yes.
Yes, then yes. Okay, so this person watched Fate Stay Nights and they're just like, that sounds like a good idea, and included it as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we've
know.
got the premise that if you want to play an anime, that's
you can.
Yes. Okay.
Magic.
The art is amazing.
The
It's
art is
really
very
cool.
Every time you've sent the art, I'm like, all right, all of this is nonsense, but the pictures are nice.
One thing I'll mention, except for that one of the psychic like holding the sword, that's a commission I did for a character I played. All of the art in this game is created by one person. A person known by the name Wen M on DeviantArt. I think it's like their one piece of social media. So like, as you mentioned, like the art has changed. It's because they've gotten better over the years. Like it's purely they've just improved. They're just a legend. I adore them. They're very cool. I'm not a big like anime guy. I can take or leave the aesthetic itself. I think they hit it pretty well.
Yeah, well, like every single thing just screams evocative energy. Like there's for example, John Blanche from Games Workshop. He has very evocative art. Same with Adrian Smith. Yeah. Where it's much more that you feel it, but Adrian Smith is much more realistic than this.
Yeah, he does more realism art. Yeah.
But yeah, when we take a look at art, we really like art.
Well, I will slightly mention Key because it is only it's not that major. When I was talking about Goku, one of the reasons Goku is able to do that is Anima has an issue with Key. It's the second issue. In Anima, Key is a system where you can create your own power. And picture a tabletop game that lets you create your own abilities.
This does not go well.
No.
So, for example, we have a friend who says "Dice Monkey Go" in games. He will say this loudly and proudly and say, "Oh yeah, it's time to roll dice, baby." This person's going to ruin this game, aren't they?
Oh yeah, if somebody is willing to sit down and like learn a game to break it, it's bad. I played a Key gunslinger who was able to create guns out of like his energy, and he was a problem because in the first turn, he would turn his pistol basically into an Uzi, shoot 9 times in a row, and kill everything on the field before they could do anything.
Isn't that like Horseface from JoJo's Bizarre?
Yeah.
The guy that ended up killing Abdul?
It is similar to Whole Horse. And
yeah, Whole Horse, sorry.
He allows you to make whatever power you want. It gives you everything statted out because, as they put it, literally, there's a quote exactly in the beginning of the book where they say, "We wanted you to feel like you were in Dragon Ball or Bleach or Naruto."
Or Street Fighter. Yeah, there's a lot of differences of power level between these things.
Yes.
Can I Rasengan, teacher?
Oh, easily. That's so easy to do. There's a game my friends would play, and like when I was getting into this game, where I would name a character and they would tell me in just a couple steps how easy it was to make that character.
Okay.
So I suppose that's the one plus side of this game.
Oh yeah, you can literally make whatever. Like if you have a character idea, it is so easy to make. So,
okay, I'm ready for Light Yagami now.
All right,
please.
Magic.
Thank you.
Light Yagami.
So,
go.
Magic. This is probably the most overpowered system because Magic, there's a lot of spells, There are a lot of ways to get it busted, and these spells get really, really dumb. I'm talking spells that get a way to, like, actual, for real time travel. D&D has a little bit of chronomancy. I mean, do you actually want to travel back and forth in time and rewrite history? Yes, you can. Do you want to control the concept of sin? Write such good fan fiction your OC becomes real? Yes, you can. Do you want a Death Note? Here you go. It's a whole literature spell tree that is all about writing. And what's up?
There are lots of words again.
This is where the problem also comes in because of all these words. Now, one of the issues is a lot of these words also sometimes don't mean anything.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I actually tried to read through some of it, and I'm just like, I cannot tell flavor text from descriptive text.
Yes.
Teacher?
So, what's up?
This game sucks.
It's a beautiful game. Lay off of Anima. It doesn't deserve it. It's beautiful, but it does suck. It does. Here's an example. There is a spell called Sever Existence. It says anything that comes in contact with the spell is destroyed physically and spiritually. What does that mean? What is
in contact?
What does that mean, game?
So you use this spell to kill God?
Apparently. There's another spell. There's a grease spell. Like that it says it makes the ground slippery and it makes it hard to traverse. It doesn't clarify what it does. What does it mean that the ground is slippery and that they have to make a check to keep their footing? Okay. What does it give them a specific disadvantage? Will they fall over if they fail it? It doesn't tell you what happens if they fall over.
Oh,
or if they fail the check.
Fair.
With all of this coming together, would you, if given the chance, play Anima Beyond Fantasy?
Well, at the moment we've got like a lot
of things.
Yeah,
to
we're
do,
trying to produce maybe something like, I think we're doing like 12 shorts a week or something like
there
that.
Are cats to feed.
And we got to do the videos. I mean, like they're pretty intense at the moment.
Oh yeah.
Well, that is a shame. I mean, game kind of sucks anyways. What about?
Oh, thank God.
What about Lancer?
Thank God. My schedule just freed up. Yeah.
Lancer sounds good. Yeah. When are you free?
Probably like a couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
let's do
good.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.